Hi everyone, and welcome to our Study Skills and Exam Tips webinar. So today we're just going to run through a few study skills and exam tips to get you through prelims and hopefully your final exams. Before we start with any of that, let's first acknowledge that, during this time you are probably experiencing one of the most overwhelming times that you are going through in terms of writing your finals for your matric year. You've come through such a long journey in terms of your 12 years of studying, but it is doable and you can cope as much as there might be a lot of external pressure on you. So first things first is in terms of being able to study, I think it's very, very important that you first of all acknowledge and understand what your learning style is. So if you aren't familiar with this concept, each one of us are different types of learners and we gain information optimally through various ways. So we have what we call the FARC method. Yes, like the pig. So the FARC method is basically talking about the different types of learning styles. So the first one that we get are your visual learners. These are people that need to see information. So looking at things like bar graphs, charts, infographics, visual representations of the information. So if this is something that appeals to you, possibly putting a lot of notes up, little post-its, a lot of things like that will help you to digest and remember the content a lot easier. So the A in the FARC method is for the audio kind of learners, and these are people that use their auditory senses, so needing to hear the information. So if this is you, you definitely be able to sit in class, just listen to what the teacher is saying and remember quite a bit of that information. In terms of the R, these are your readers and your writers. So these are very text-heavy people. This is the ones that make notes, all those lovely little things that we see on TikTok with all the colors and things like that there. So if you are more of a reader or writer, what you want to do is be able to read very heavy kind of text and be able to write and summarize notes. So here, working with a lot of summaries, taking notes, so whether in class, outside of class, getting it done like that. And then the K in terms of the FARC method is your kinesthetic learner. So these are people that need to move to learn certain things. So you might find in class like you tapping your pencil or like you're getting some kind of movement involved. In terms of how you'd be able to kind of get through your content, role plays, probably the easiest one. So specifically for things like English, if you are doing a play or something like that, there or a poem or a piece of literature, to actually role play that. But also try and find someone that you can role play certain informations with, so you can move and actually experience learning through that kind of sense would be the easiest. So that's the FARC method. To kind of know your learning style, it becomes so much easier to be able to start digesting the content. So in terms of actual tips of how to actually get through any of your content, the first one is to budget your time. Please don't ever find yourself in a situation where you're sitting and cramming for like a good 24 hours straight. It is not useful to anyone. So plan ahead where possible. Try and plan the times that you will be studying. With that being said, set a specific time for studying. So if it is that you are a night owl, schedule a certain time of the night where you will study, or if you wake up early in the morning, set that as a time and be consistent with it, okay? So being able to say to yourself, I'm going to study at these times. So yes, so set your study times, make it consistent, make it a routine that you kind of follow through, okay? So if it is that every day you say that you're going to study from 8 until 10, then stick to that time because your body kind of gets used to studying during those hours. Start with the hardest content. Get it out the way, literally. If you find that maths is most difficult or a specific part of the content for, let's say, English is difficult, start with that, get it out the way and know that it's done. Break down the content. Please don't feel like you have to sit there and go through the entire chapter before you can take a break or before you can move on to something else. Start with what you can digest and then move on when you can. Reward yourself. And a really, really nice way that I saw this being done is where they have like a textbook and there's like a whole bunch of chocolates after every single section. So when you get to that section, take out your chocolate and enjoy it. Whatever that is for you, then make sure that you do that. Whether it is, having a certain snack or, texting someone back, whatever the case is, but try not to make it too distracting, okay? Definitely make use of each other's strengths. So say, for example, you're particularly good at maths and your friend is maybe really, really good at science. Share content, share study notes, role play, for example, but link up with someone and really capitalize on strengths. Practice past papers. If it's something that you are able to access, get a hold of some past papers and actually practice it. Nothing helps you like going through an experience. So feel what it feels like to write the paper, how they ask questions, get used to that. And past papers or practice examples are the best way to do that. Create a study space. I think we're also guilty of this, but being able to actually create a space that's separate from your bed, very, very useful. So get a table or a space that you use to actually just focus on studying from. It helps you to separate the roles in your life, and it helps you to be more productive when you do find yourself studying. Remove any distractions. That means your phone. So whether you put on flight mode or whether you just lock it away somewhere for those times that you have budgeted for studying. There's nothing worse than your phone like flashing this light and feeling like you have to pick it up. We're all guilty of it. So rather just remove that distraction and then rather just focus on studying for those few hours that you have budgeted. Where possible, and I know sometimes not the easiest, but study in similar environments. So research has shown that where you study and where you write, if it's a similar environment, it's really, really useful and helps you to remember a lot of the content that you have actually prepared. Also, if possible, certain like if you drink a certain type of drink, if allowed in the exam venue, or a specific sweet or a specific scent that you have when you're studying, and carry it over to the exam. So let's say it's like a little spritzer that you have and you keep that with you. That will help you or almost take you back to the content that you've remembered. So really, really nice trick in terms of being able to remember the content. So a really, really nice technique in terms of budgeting your time and how to actually set up a good schedule is the Pomodoro technique. So what this is all about is that you set a specific time slot, okay? So let's say it's 20 minutes. You put a timer and you just focus for those 20 minutes, okay? Thereafter, when the timer stops, you take a 5-minute break. And what we do is we do this in like 5 cycles. Every time you can have the little break getting a little bit longer. So specifically when you get to the 4th round of the cycle, you take a 15-minute to 30-minute break. So that helps like break down the time really, really well. Guys, no one can concentrate for longer than 45 minutes. So please don't force yourself to sit through a study session that involves that. So rather have short bursts of really, really intense studying and then come back to it in between. So how do you take care of your physical during all of this? Make sure that you get enough sleep. Literally, guys, your brain cannot cope and it cannot function well if you don't get enough sleep. So during your study periods, during your exam periods, make sure you are studying enough. Also get enough eat enough. Make sure you are eating the right stuff, okay? So as much as we love the McDonald's, Burger King and all of those things, that is not necessarily the right stuff. Your brain food, so nuts and things like that there, but also make sure that you are eating enough to be able to sustain yourself. Think of it like this: your brain is like an engine that needs fuel to run off. So if you are eating enough, your brain will work a lot better. Okay, and then also take care of your mental health. Make sure that you are in the right space to be able to write exams. If you're feeling anxious, if you're feeling depressed or worried, nothing is going to come out of that. So rather take care of yourself physically and mentally so that you are well prepared when you do get into the exam venue. So very, very interesting, and I just wanted to kind of take you guys through this. We learn 10% of what we read, 20% of what we hear, 30% of what we see, 50% of what we see and hear, 70% of what we discuss, 80% of what we experience, and 95% of what we teach to others. So in terms of the content that you are dealing with, if you are able to kind of move through all of those steps, or at least use more than one of the senses, definitely do so. Read it, listen to it, look at it, and then try and teach it to someone else, because that literally puts you at 95% of familiarity with the content. So what happens when you actually get into the exam venue? Some exam tips for you guys. So first things first, make sure you wake up early. This will give you like a good start to the day to be well prepared. Check any logistics. So where are you writing? What is the venue? What do you need? So that allows you to not be panicked when you have to move into the situation. Set up whatever stationery you need, or whatever kind of notes you might need if it's an open book exam. Prepare everything the night before. So the morning of, you're literally just walking into the venue and being prepared. Avoid classmates that panic or friends that panic. When I was in school, me and my friend always used to sing this song. It was like this terrible old school song that's like, if you don't know it by now, you're never going to know it. So rather avoid kind of situations that are going to put you into a panic, or certain friends that may tend to panic a little bit more. Rather just be like, okay, I'm just going to give myself some time and just go straight into the venue. Okay. Where possible, try and skim through your paper, okay? If this is something that does give you anxiety, then try avoid it. But if it doesn't, skim through your paper, look at the type of questions that they're asking, and this will help you to plan your time better. So say, for example, Section A, short questions, Section C, an essay, you kind of know how much time you need to spend on each of them, okay? So use that to kind of prepare yourself. Also, in doing that, you kind of can see which questions you might feel a little bit more confident with. Start with those, get them out the way, and then use the rest of your time to focus on the longer, more harder questions, which is really, really a useful strategy. Highlight. All those lovely highlighters and pens and color stuff that you guys buy from Typo, this is the time to use them, okay? So you're literally going to highlight key things. So if it says compare and contrast, literally highlight those two words, and then highlight what it is that you need to compare and contrast, so that you know exactly what it is that you need to answer. If it speaks about, let's say, divide this, highlight the divide, so literally your mind is reminded of what it is that you actually need to do for that question. So the stationery that you have doesn't just have to be beautiful to look at. You can actually use it in situations like this. Then the last thing, and probably the most useful life hack, if you go blank, just start writing something, okay? Literally on a scrap piece of paper or somewhere on the question paper. Just start writing. What this does is it helps reignite your thought process and helps bring your brain back to the current space. So you'll find that you end up remembering what it is that you were trying to remember. So don't panic, breathe, just start writing something, and you'll find that it just comes back to you. I hope this was helpful, and I hope that it gives you a little bit more of like certain tips and things that you might be able to use for your exams. Just further to that, for finals, always try and budget your time and prepare in advance. So any content that you're learning, when you get home, just read through it the first time. Then at a later stage, make a summary, and when it comes closer to the time, go through it again. That at least gives you, let's say, 3 experiences of exposure with the content, so that it doesn't become so overwhelming and such a big task when you have to study for your finals at the end, and it's like a whole bunch of stuff. So budget your time, use some of the tips that I've got you, and just remember that you've got this. You've gotten through 12 years, essentially, of school already. This is just the last speed bump. All the best. Cheers.